The newest and hottest SharePoint feature just started rolling out. I've already got it in my tenant and I'm showing it off in this video. Let's get into it. Now, you've seen me cover this feature in the past, at least the news about it, because it wasn't out yet. It used to be called Click to Copilot. I think I've had 2 or 3 videos that have talked a lot about what Click to Copilot is. The new name, right before they launched it in Microsoft fashion, they rebranded it. Now it's called Copilot Agents for SharePoint. It will let you create custom Copilots within SharePoint without having to have a Copilot Studio license or anything like that. Now, there are some licensing. We'll get to that at some point. But what this will let you do is for site owners and site members, it will let them create a custom Copilot, in other words, a chatbot. And you will create it within SharePoint on your data, whatever data you choose, and then you can interact with that. You can chat with that. And other people on the site can chat with that as well. Now, there's a lot of implications on what this thing is going to be able to do. Who's going to have access to it, how these things are going to be shared, how you're going to control this as an administrator and as a site owner. Those are all going to be topics that I'm going to cover in future videos, although I will start to touch on them some now. Now, every site, as soon as you get this feature, every site's going to automatically have a Copilot agent deployed. So it's already going to be out there and ready to use. You can just start to use it as soon as you see this button on your SharePoint site. Now, you don't need admin rights to create any of these Copilot agents. They're going to live as files, as you're going to see here. Now, and it also does only work on the modern experience. So if you've got some of those old classic SharePoint experience sites out there that you've migrated from the SharePoint on-prem, maybe one of the SharePoint on-prem versions, you're going to have to basically recreate that in the modern experience in order for this new feature to show up. So let's get right into the site and I'll show you how this thing works, how you can start to customize this thing, because you could definitely do some customization with this without ever needing to go into Copilot Studio. So it's going to be great for end users. It'll be great for power users. And then for those more advanced, maybe they could start in here and then eventually transition it into Copilot Studio to do a lot more of those advanced things. So I'm here on my site now. And I've already got one on here in this document library. You'll see it's got a .copilot extension. It's got the Copilot logo here as well. I'm just going to delete this thing because I did just want to show you it is just a regular file in here. Now, what you want to do, now you'll see this button up here, create a Copilot agent. This has been shown in the past, I think under a slightly different name. I think it might have been just called Create a Copilot. And this is how you're going to be able to create one. Now, you'll also see a button at the top of the screen here with the Copilot logo. This is how you're going to be able to bring out that Copilot menu and start to chat with a chatbot. We'll get to that in a minute, but first, let's just talk about how you're going to create one of these things. Now, if I were to just click on this button right now, it's going to create a Copilot agent based on where I'm at. I'm in a document library and I haven't selected any particular file. So it's going to be grounded based on just the files in this library, regardless of whether they're in a folder or just in a flat list, which is what you should be doing. It's going to be grounded on that library. Now, one of the interesting things about the Copilot agents for SharePoint is you're going to be able to ground this agent, this chatbot, on the files that you choose, whether it's one file, a collection of files, a folder, an entire document library, a site, or even multiple sites. The power is in your hands. You never have to leave SharePoint to even create these things. You don't have to go into Copilot Studio. You stay in the environment where your data lives, and that's a really, really seamless and rich experience. Now, in this case, like I said, it's going to be grounded based on this. We can just simply click try it right here. And we'll be able to immediately try out this thing. Now, we're in a library called Documents, so the default name is Documents Agent. We'll be able to customize that, of course. It'll give us a little bit of information based on this. So we can start to type in here, what FAQs do you know about? and it's going to be answering based on the information in this document library. So it starts to immediately spit out some of the questions from the FAQ. You'll also see that the library refreshed over here as well. So now we have our .copilot file. So with just, I think, 2 clicks, we have a custom Copilot agent ready to use and in our SharePoint site. Now, in the past, you've always had to deploy your custom Copilots into Teams, into a website, or some other interface. It wasn't available in SharePoint. With this new feature, the Copilot agents are in SharePoint, right where the users are going to be in all the time working on their data. And so it really provides a much better and rich experience for the end users because they never have to switch context to go ask questions about their data. Now, from here, what we're able to do is, if we're done asking questions, if we've kind of tested it out and we're like, okay, this works pretty good. What else can I do with it? What are the other bells and whistles that come with it? You can click on the ellipsis button right here. Now you can share it with another user. Right now, you're the only person who's going to be able to talk to this. There is a little bit of management and an approval process to make your Copilot agent available to other users on this site. We'll get to that point, but let's take a look at what we can edit on here. Oh, and you do see an About button here that will show that I created this. It'll show the date and time. It'll show what location this particular Copilot agent is in and what source used for information. Right now, it's just the entire documents library on the onboarding site. So you see a little bit of information here. So if you want to know who created a particular agent, you can always check that About menu and find that out. But if we click on Edit, we'll see a really good interface here to customize this. We can change the icon for this thing. So if you've got one based on a particular organization, department name or something like that, maybe it's about a particular project, you can set the project logo on here so that people can quickly identify which Copilot agent they want to chat with and speed up their process. So you see a description here just to kind of help people understand what this is for. You'll see the Sources tab. That's where we saw the onboarding site and the documents library. We can add more information here. We can add additional libraries, different folders, files from some other location. We can add that all on here. Just remember that with these Copilot agents, you don't have to just use data on one particular site. You can use knowledge from other sites as well. So Copilot agents can definitely span other sites as well. So if we wanted to, we could add more files in here. We could remove this library and swap it out for another one. You can add individual files as well, but there's a faster way if you want to do that. I'll show you that as well. You'll see a button down here to do advanced customization in Copilot Studio. As of the date of recording, this is coming soon, but eventually this is going to take you into Copilot Studio. This will become a full-blown custom Copilot at that point, but it will still live in SharePoint. And you can do a lot of the things that you might have already been playing around with in Copilot Studio. So we'll have to wait on this feature. I will definitely provide another update to this video series that I'm creating on Copilot Agents with SharePoint, showing how to kind of make that transition. But we also have the Behavior tab. Now here you can specify the welcome message. You'll actually see that right here. So when someone starts to chat with your chatbot, maybe you give them a little information about what this chatbot is designed to do. You can give it some starter prompts, which you'll also see here. So if I were to click on one of these, it just immediately fills in the prompt box with that particular prompt. So it's a great way to help a user get started with your Copilot agent. So you can change these around. Then you have custom instructions for the Copilot agent. What this box does, if you're not familiar with how custom Copilots are designed, this is going to give it a set of instructions on how it should behave, the tone it should use, if it should be more professional, if it should be casual, if it should insert jokes at random times, things like that. You're customizing the behavior and dictating how the agent should be interacting with the user. And as you're changing all of these things, you'll be able to test it right here in this test this agent pane. And also notice right here, it'll show you exactly where that file is located at as well. So a really cool way of making sure you can find your way back to this Copilot file. But this file could be moved at some point based on the site owner. That's part of the approval process. So I'll show that, but let me first show you, instead of grounding a custom Copilot based off of just the library itself, let's pick a few files. In this example, this is an onboarding library. It's going to have documents for new employees based all around the world. And I've showcased this in a recent session in Community Days LA. Thank you for those who attended in person. If you missed it, I'm going to be showing. I'm going to be doing an encore of this session with my partner Azave. She and I are going to be going to Community Days Miami and doing this demo again about some of the SharePoint premium features. So definitely check out that. I'll have a link in the description below for that particular Community Days. So if you're in the area and want to stop by and check out our session, please do so and definitely come up to us and say hey. But what this is going to be is, like, suppose I want a chatbot for all of the English-speaking new employees, so to be able to answer questions about maybe the frequently asked questions, the acceptable use policy, and the non-disclosure agreement. So I could select these files, click on Create a Custom Copilot Agent. We'll have the same kind of thing here. Let's just jump straight into Edit. I can change the name to Onboarding English, and we can just click Save. So now this one is saved. So you can go through this process and group all of your different language-specific files together in different Copilot agents. At that point, the person can hit this Copilot button if they don't already have it selected, and they can pick which language applies to them, and they can start to ask it questions and get results for them. Now you'll see with some of these Copilot agents, there's different icons to indicate the status. Some will have a little checkbox, some don't. This indicates which ones basically you've created or have they been shared with you versus the ones that the site owner has approved and has made available for all users on the site. So the approval process is really simple. You're going to drag that Copilot file or move it into the Site Assets Copilot Approved folder. Once they're in there, they'll show up with a checkbox and they're made available to everyone. Now, this is only for site admins to use, but this is to help control the amount of Copilot agents within that site, just so it doesn't get cluttered. So you'll see here, you'll see the Onboarding Documents Agent. This was one I've already approved. Then you'll see Onboarding Copilot. Now this one, notice the names as well. Now, for the most part, all of these Copilot agents that I've created, they've all had the word agent in here. Now, Onboarding English didn't because we took that name out. But you'll see one that just starts with Onboarding Copilot. This is the default Copilot agent that came with the site. I mentioned it earlier that all SharePoint sites, as soon as this feature hits your environment, every single site will have a Copilot agent already on there, grounded to the entire site. This is that one. And with this one, you're not going to be able to customize it. There's no edit button. You're not going to be able to delete it. Deleting it, by the way, is literally as simple as selecting it and hitting delete. It's that simple. Now it's gone. That's all it takes to delete these. That means a member could delete them as well. It doesn't have to be a site owner or an admin. Anyone with read-write access can delete these things. So security is gonna become a little bit more important with who you're allowing read-write access to in your site. At least the site specific or the default site Copilot agent is going to be read-only basically for everybody. So that at least cannot be deleted. Now, look, just to show you this approval process, what we're going to do is if I click on, so if we look at this Onboarding English one, we see it does not have a checkbox. So let's go and improve this so it does have a checkbox. We're going to click the three dots here. We're going to click Move To. And we'll see over here, onboarding site assets. You can also navigate through other ways if you want to in here, but for me, it's already showing up right here. Then I click into Copilot, and you'll see an approved folder. By the way, this is that default Copilot agent that came with the site. But we'll go into the approved folder. We'll click Move here. And just like any other file, it has been moved. Now, I think we'll have to refresh this. Let's refresh this page. And we'll check this. And now our onboarding English Copilot agent has been approved. It shows up with a checkbox. If we hover over that, it says the Copilot is approved on this site. So the admin has personally approved this for use for everybody on the site. So let's look at what else we can do. Let's just create another one again, just so we have a file-based one right here in this library. Refresh this. Now I can click on share and I can type in someone's name. Maybe I share it with user one, and I can click the send button. Now, what'll happen at this point is they'll get an email just like they would with any other SharePoint file, because this is technically just a file. It's the configuration, and sure, there's SharePoint functionality to serve content or serve a service, a Copilot agent based on the configuration of that file. But technically, the Copilot agent lives and dies based on that one file. But when this is shared, the end user will get an email, and that will invite them to, hey, you've got access to this thing now. Go try it out. They can click on it. They'll open it up, but they can also navigate right back to this site, and they can click on this drop-down list, and they would see that that particular Copilot showing up, or the Copilot agent showing up. Notice we've got two different files here called Documents Agent. That's part of that default naming. You want to make sure you give your Copilot agent a really good name that is going to be unique to what purpose it serves on this site. The default naming, in my opinion, is going to become a problem. You're going to start to see a whole lot of Copilot agent duplication. You're going to see, document agent, document agent, document agent. You're going to see the same name showing up on that Copilot agent for SharePoint list, because a lot of people are just going to click on the Try Now button, and they're not going to do any customization of that Copilot agent whatsoever. I see that becoming a problem. I would definitely recommend training your site owners and your site members, probably sending out some communication for what they can expect with this, and to just set the expectation right at the very beginning. They need to edit it, and at the very least, change the name of the Copilot agent so that users know what this thing is even for. Now, that being said, these are going to be a whole lot of fun to play with. One thing I want to touch on is if we go back to an agent that we can change, let's pull this back up, click edit, and go to the sources. Now, one of the questions you're going to have is, well, how many information sources can I have? How many things can I ask this thing to provide information on? Well, the magic number here is going to be 20. You're going to be able to do 20 files, 20 sites, 20 folders, 10 files and 10 sites, 4 folders, 16 files, something along those lines. 20 is the maximum number of items in this list right here that you can use. Once you hit 20, you're not going to be able to add any more. You're going to have to remove some and to be able to make room to add more. So you're going to want to plan this out, or just be prepared to recreate it at some point or re-architect where your information lives so that you can pull in the right information for this thing. At some point, they may increase that limit, but for right now, 20 is, remember, that's the magic number for this. Now, as far as what file types this supports, because we've still got a lot to cover in here. We've got to talk about the licensing. We've got to talk about other things like that. But as far as the file types, what things will it answer information on? Well, what will it provide information on? Well, it's going to have the most common document types. They're right here on the screen. Notice that loop files can be used. That's actually really, really cool. And I'm going to be trying that out in a future video, that it can pull information out of your loop pages That's what it looks like. Again, this thing just rolled out probably within the last week. So most people didn't even know it was there until I was telling them this past week. I just got back from vacation and checked my environment, and there it was. I knew it was coming somewhere around this time, but it was a nice surprise getting back from vacation. But list files or lists cannot be used. And that's not really specific to Copilot agents. Really, Copilot, custom Copilots as well have a lot of issues with metadata. They're not great with kind of understanding metadata, and since that's really all a list is. Just stick with documents, at least for now. At some point, I would expect lists to be possible to be added to these things, but just for now, it needs to be a document, a library, a site, a folder, something based around file architecture anyway. You can't do, but it's not all files technically, because you can't use site pages. So it can't enter questions based on text on a site page. It will need to be like, a more of an Office document or a PDF or something like that. I'm definitely expecting that to change sooner than later. Now, you do need a license for this, but before I get into that, if you're new to SharePoint or you're trying to learn about all these features that have been coming out, or maybe you didn't even know about all these features, I've got a newsletter that'll keep you up to date on all the amazing features, as well as SharePoint Premium. So click the link below to get signed up. It's free and it doesn't take up much time each week. What more could you ask for? Now, as far as licensing goes, this is going to require a license. It will be an M365 Copilot license. So you've got to have that $30 per user per month license. But this is a tremendous amount of value added to that license because before that, we had really no Copilot within SharePoint, not unless you did custom coding to integrate that in somehow. And that would take a developer or possibly a development team to come up with something like that. Here it's native, it's built into SharePoint, it's automatically in your SharePoint environment as long as you've got that license. So it's a lot of extra value for that. And I think your users are really going to love it. Now, one of the features that's going to be coming is the ability to set the default agent on a site. Right now, it's that site-wide default Copilot agent, and that's the default one on the site. Eventually, admins will be able to use the ellipsis button, just like they would for any other file on a site or in a library. But for a Copilot file, a Copilot agent file, you'll be able to set that as the site default, so that when new users go to the site and they bring out that Copilot flyout menu or the Copilot agent flyout menu, they'll be able to they'll automatically be using the default one that the site owner set for them. They can still change it to something else if they need to, but it gives the site owner a way to give them a more customized look, maybe some better starting prompts, things like that. I think that's going to be great. We're going to see a ton of features, honestly, coming to this. This is a very big product for SharePoint, a very big add-on, and it's going to, I think, really change how people are using SharePoint. You're going to see, in my opinion, possibly quite a bit less of the Microsoft search bar being used, and instead it's probably going to be a whole lot more Copilot agent, chatbot style interface to find information, to get just the information they need summarized from Copilot without having to read through 100 pages of some document. I think that's going to be really great. And there's going to be, like I said, a lot more features coming. I'm going to be continuing to build out this playlist that I've got just on Copilot agents and SharePoint, so that you're able to stay up to date on all the new things that are coming. There's a lot of stuff that is in the works for this already. That they some of it they've announced, some stuff they haven't. So when it goes public, I'm going to be covering it right here on this channel. One other thing I wanted to mention is, what about a hub site? How does a Copilot agent work with a hub? Well, right now, if you have one on a hub site, it will summarize information. It'll answer questions, in other words, based on the hub site and all of the associated sites. So it will work exactly the way you expect it to. If you have one on your intranet and you've got, all of your associated sites hooked up to that or associated with that hub site, it will answer questions on the entire intranet. That's just an automatic behavior, and I think it's a crucial thing for intranets. I think it's going to change a lot of how people find information on intranets as well. Now, there's a ton of things that have been coming to SharePoint this year. I've covered, I think, most of them, if not all of them, on my channel. I've got an entire playlist just for SharePoint, so it's nothing but SharePoint stuff. If you want to see what else has come out, then just click or tap the screen, and I'll see you on the next one.